very excited to introduce our special guest speaker today, Tom Martin, and y'all will get to share his story. How he went from perfect health to heart failure to nearly dying and then to having to be put on a heart transplant list. We also discussed how his doctors in the beginning showed very little concern and even less explanation as to why this was happening to him. So he realized very soon, early on in his crisis, that he's going to have to take control of his own health and he needs to become his own advocate. So he began to read and research and more research, mainly to find out what caused this, but even more importantly, solutions for his crisis. But Tom's horrific medical crisis, well, he calls it a roller coaster ride, lasted over 2 years. And after this, he went on to write a book documenting his incredible journey back to good health. He wrote also of the many things he learned through his research, different strategies, different solutions, and what worked for him. He also wanted to share this with others so they could take over their own health situations and control their issues as well. His book is, and I want everyone to read this, is my 1%, My Journey Overcoming Heart Disease. And if you're lucky, like I was, he will sign it for you, and I really appreciate that. This is in my permanent library of health issues. But anyway, I read this book. I had the privilege of getting it early, and I read this book, and I cried through it a little bit, and I laughed through it, and it was just an amazing journey. I felt like I was sharing it, the journey with Tom. I just felt I was there. And his writing style is very unique. It's very precise. It's just it's a wonderful way that he shares his story, and you just feel that you're right there with him. He shares so much of this information that he gleaned from his research with the reader. And as Tom states in his book, knowledge truly is power, and I really believe that to be true, Tom. I appreciate the knowledge that you have given us.
And we thank you, Tom, for coming.
Thank you.
And Bill, do you have a few words
Like
to
to,
say?
Bill is the one who presented Tom and his book to us in the beginning, and he knows him. I feel like I know him too because I read his book. But I like to.
Barbara and Eve asked me to speak because they're trying to draw me out of my withdrawal position. I have trouble getting in front of folks and speaking, so bear with me, please. Tom is a new friend. I've known Tom 4 months, but by the time I finished his book, I felt like I've known him forever. And he's a great community guy. He's been in Arlington a short time. He's very active in the Lions group with Dan and myself. Dan is kind of the father of the Lions Club here in Arlington, Texas. And he's a very active Mason. I was in lodge with him last night. So not only is he an author and writes very good books that draw you in, I think you'll be very impressed with his book. I get no commission on the book, that's beside the point. The point being, he's also an active Arlingtonite, and I'm proud to know him and introduce him as my friend.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you, Tom, so much for
Thank
coming.
you, Barbara.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Eve.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Normally I just get up and say, hi, I'm Tom. I hope you've all had a chance to read this quote while you've been sitting there. I'd like you to know for the next 20 to 25 minutes, I will be your raving lunatic. Now, no one here needs to raise their hand, but I'd like you to think about yourself, a friend or loved one, who has a chronic illness such as diabetes, osteoporosis, cancer, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, or autoimmune diseases, skin problems. I'd like you to think, how long have you been suffering from it? How long have you been seeing your doctor? And are you better? If you specifically ask your doctor, you're going to find out that he doesn't talk about healing anything. He talks about managing a problem. I have a quote here from Bob Wright. No doctor has ever healed anyone of anything in the history of the world. The human immune system heals, and that's the only thing that can heal you. Your body is designed to heal. One quote that drives me nuts is when someone talks about the miracle of modern medicine. The miracle is that our bodies can heal, something that no man has ever been able to duplicate in their own creation. Your body wants to heal, and what it's waiting for is you to take action. I want you to imagine a lineup of Olympic swimmers on the starting blocks, their bodies tense. They're waiting for that starting gun to go off. Well, guess what? You have control of the starting gun. It's your decision. Are you going to fire it and move forward, or are you just going to be sick and let it just kind of take control of you? So will you give your body what it needs to heal and stop giving it what it doesn't? Or will you just let your immune system stand on those starting blocks? So Eve briefly told you my story. This lovely picture of me was taken moments before I was wheeled into the operating room. 6 years ago, I was a little short of breath at work. I ignored it because I'd always been healthy. In fact, I did everything right in my life. I ate whole grains. I looked for items marked low fat. I eschewed eggs. But all of a sudden, I found myself in the hospital with the doctor looking over me saying, "You need a heart transplant." And I was like, that can't be. You can't be talking to me. You must be talking there, thinking of someone else. But it was me. But my question to him is, why is this happening? And they couldn't tell me. So I thought, you want to go in and rip out my heart, and you don't even know why this is going on. I'm sorry, I just can't trust you to that level yet. But I was dying, there was no doubt about it. So what was proposed was to implant what's called a left ventricular assist device, or LVAD. This is the same device that was implanted in Vice President Dick Cheney. In fact, he got his like 3 weeks after I got mine. It's designed to keep you alive until a transplant heart can be located. So this is what an LVAD looks like. They drill a hole into your left ventricle, the blood flows out, hits the pump, it's pumped around to the aorta and then on to the rest of your body. So with that, my normal health was restored and I could start looking for answers. The odds I was given by the medical community were only 1% that I could get better. Now those are not odds I would take with me to the racetrack, but considering the alternative of a transplant, I decided to go with them. I began reading very obsessively and looking for answers to my problem, but what I found was the answers to my problem were the same answers to almost every chronic problem. When your body heals, it heals everything. Charlotte Gerson of the Gerson Institute in San Diego has a quote, "You cannot keep one disease and heal 2 others. The body heals, it heals everything." This was me in ICU about 6 days after the implant surgery. And this is the equipment that was connected to me that I carried around wherever I went. It was about 9 pounds of batteries and a controller unit. One of the most frustrating things with this is that you cannot bathe, swim, or shower. That also was very motivating to me. So, as Eve told you, I wrote about this experience in my first book. It's written in a journal format. It takes you through from the first day that I was short of breath through everything. My plan did work. My heart healed, and 15 months after its implant, the device was removed. And in fact, this is my LVAD. This is probably one of the only ones in existence outside of the manufacturer, because this little puppy costs $80,000, and the supporting equipment is like another $40,000. It's in 2 pieces. I'll pass it around. You can kind of see that it's a little heavier than I realized when I got it back after the explant. But just to say, be kind of careful that it's in 2 pieces. So.
Wow, that is heavy.
So it isn't just, our whole nation has slid from basically chronic good health to chronic bad health. We're given the excuse by the medical community is that we're living longer, and therefore we see more of these diseases. If that were true, we should be able to look at societies that live the longest and see the highest incidence of illness. Of course, it's not what we find. They're living longer because they don't have these diseases. They're not experiencing cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and so forth. I'm 56 years old, and for my entire life, heart disease has been the #1 killer of adults, with cancer right behind in #2. And this is in spite of the fact we're spending trillions of dollars a year on research, treatment, education, and so forth. We're still dying of these same two diseases. Do you know that in the early 1900s, heart attacks were so rare, they were not even taught to cardiology students at Harvard Medical School. At the time, only about 1 in 30 people suffered from a heart attack, and now it's 1 in 3. And what does your doctor want you to believe? It's in your genes. Well, I'm sorry, nothing evolves that fast. It isn't in your genes. You were taught how to eat a certain way, and that's what's killing you. And that's supported by the medical community, the US government, the AMA, and sadly even the foundations that exist supposedly to help you, like the American Cancer Society. They're interested in maintaining this infrastructure. In the late 1800s, there were 5 schools of medical thought: holistic, naturopathic, eclectic, herbal, osteopathic, and what we have left, the only one left really, is allopathic. What's interesting, the School of Allopathic Medicine taught, give the patient a poison and then try to find the level of that poison that supposedly kills the disease without killing the patient. This is the school that survived. And the reason it survived was because it was driven by profits through the oil industry. It was the Rockefellers and the Carnegies that made sure the other schools were shut down. Now, obviously, we see in chemotherapy that same thing. Let's poison the patient and hope we don't kill them. The problem is in cancer treatment with chemo, you are more likely to die of the cancer treatment than of cancer. Now, in saying all this negative about allopathic medicine, I will also say they have a tremendous track record of traumatic situations. If you're in an accident or something suddenly happens to you and you're rushed in for treatment, these types of treatments do very well. But for chronic illness, it's done very poorly. I've already mentioned that heart disease has been the #1 killer of adults, with cancer #2. Does anybody know what #3 is?
Diabetes.
No? Acceptable side effects of prescription drugs or death by medicine. This is so pervasive that I want you to imagine a fully loaded 747 crashing every day, killing everyone. By the end of a week, we'd all be up in arms. Bowen's got to do something, yet this happens every day, and we all just go, eh. There's a quote from the great Abraham Maslow that says, "I suppose it is tempting, if the only tool you have is a hammer, to treat everything as if it was a nail." So what do we see from our medical community? Drugs, pills, and that's pretty much it. I have a friend whose wife became quite ill, and I'd like you to put yourself into her situation. Her gums started receding from her teeth, and her teeth started falling out. She was very lethargic, her bones ached, and she was just generally a mess. Well, she did like most of us would do. She went to her dentist, and her dentist couldn't figure out what's going on, so he sent her to a periodontist who wasn't quite sure what to do other than to replace the teeth she lost. She went to her doctor, who put her on a painkiller and suggested an antidepressant. Now, based on those symptoms, I'll tell you those symptoms would have eventually killed her. Does anybody know what she had? Yes, she had scurvy. Now, all of those problems would have been cured by an orange. Did you know that an orange cannot be FDA approved? So your doctor's going to give you one of these. The United Kingdom has been doing tremendous work in research with a product that is very common. It's becoming more common, thankfully, treating Alzheimer's, dementia, and Lou Gehrig's disease. Again, does anybody know what that is? Yes? No, yes, ALS, but I mean what the product is that they're treating it with. It is coconut oil. I read an article, I talk about it in my book, of a man who had ALS. He was taking all the drugs. He said, I wasn't getting better. And he goes, I kept reading about coconut oil, and he just kept increasing the amount he took, as well as taking magnesium oil as well. And he said within a month, the change was dramatic and how much better I was. There is a link that I have in my book of a woman who had Alzheimer's, and they asked her to draw a clock, and you just saw a circle with some lines that were scattered. With 3 weeks under coconut oil treatment, you could see a circle with lines for hands like they were supposed to be. That's how rapidly some of this stuff can work, but how simply it is. So getting into something even more serious, there's something all of you probably have in your kitchen that has been shown to cure cancer. Does anybody know what that might be? Who wasn't at breakfast the other day, by the way? What? No. It is baking soda. This is less than $1 a box. The coconut oil is a couple dollars for a bottle. Of course, an orange is less than $1. There's no profit in any of these things. None of them can be patented because they're all natural. And if something can't be patented, it can't be studied, and so it's ignored. There are basically 4 steps to chronic good health. Whoa, what happened here? Okay, here are the 4 steps. First, eliminate the foods which cause inflammation or cause our pH balances to become too acid. The second is to eliminate poisons. The third is to get your gut working properly, that it can absorb the nutrition that you give it. And the fourth is then to eat foods that actually contain nutrition. I'm sorry, but those little box things that you buy in the freezer section that you throw in the microwave don't give your body any nutrition at all. First, real briefly, inflammation. Here are the primary causes of inflammation: heart disease, cancer, stroke, arthritis, flu and asthma, and diabetes. Without a doubt, the major problem in our diets is sugar. The USDA says the average American eats an additional 156 pounds of sugar a year. 35 pounds of that is in high fructose corn syrup. And what makes that even worse is that the corn syrup is from genetically modified corn, which GMO foods are the second category of, I don't know how my notes got in there, second category of inflammation. The 3 most common foods in our diet that are genetically modified are corn. Now this isn't so much corn on the cob, it's corn that is in other products. Again, high fructose corn syrup and so forth. One of the worst things, this is the greatest marketing job in probably the history, that people believe soy is healthy. Soy is so bad for our bodies that it's actually an anti-nutrient. As our bodies try to push it through, it strips nutrition out of us. Things such as soy milk contains bleach because they try to get the smell out of the bean smell out. The third is wheat. I don't know if any of you have heard of the book or read the book Wheat Belly, but you can go onto Facebook and like his page.